did kill Lilly and Jack.
Fully engaged in finding out what happened to Jack and Lilly.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them, and I want them home.
Two children vanished without a trace. No screams, no struggle, just silence. The police won't talk. And the stepfather revealed something he shouldn't have. A pink blanket, a single boot print, and a story no one is allowed to tell. Why did the RCMP order the family to stay quiet?
That's a hard one because I don't want to impede the investigation in any way.
What's being hidden from the public? And most importantly, is someone getting away with it? In this video, we uncover the truth behind the silence, part by part. We follow the clues the world ignored and ask the questions no one else dared to ask, because Lilly and Jack Sullivan are still missing. And the silence around them is no longer strategy. It's a warning. Watch to the very end. Because the answers aren't where you think they are. Help us fight the silence. Subscribe to True Child Cases. Part 1. Why are they silent? RCMP orders raise new questions. Two children, one pink blanket, and an unsettling silence. 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan vanished on the morning of May 2nd from their trailer home in Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia. One moment, they were believed to be playing near the yard. The next, they were gone. No screams, no struggle, no witnesses, just the sliding back door left open, and an agonizing mystery that has now haunted Canada for weeks. But something else is missing. Something just as haunting. Their mother, Malehya Brooks Murray, has not spoken to the press, nor has her partner, Daniel Martell, not since the early days. When he finally did appear on CBC News weeks later, he admitted something shocking. The RCMP told them not to talk to the media. Why? Why would investigators silence the two people closest to the children? Why prevent them from pleading publicly for help? From sharing their side? From defending themselves? The RCMP says it's standard practice. But to many watching from the outside, this silence feels less like strategy and more like a cover-up. Let's be clear. When a child goes missing, every action taken in the first 48 hours matters. Investigators know this. They've interviewed 54 people, received over 500 tips, searched septic tanks, mine shafts, culverts, and miles of dense woodland. But when information is scarce and parents are silent, suspicion festers. Still, there are reasons law enforcement might issue a media blackout for key witnesses or family members, especially in cases involving young, vulnerable children. First, to preserve the integrity of witness statements. Once someone gives a detailed public interview, their words are set in stone. If inconsistencies emerge later, even innocent ones, it could destroy their credibility in court. Second, to protect sensitive investigative details. Take Daniel Martell's interview, for example. He revealed that Lilly's pink blanket was found on the very first day of the search, something police had not yet confirmed publicly. He even said it was located near a child-sized boot print, close to a pipeline. Why did the RCMP withhold that detail? Because if someone later came forward claiming involvement and mentioned that exact spot, the RCMP would know they were telling the truth. But now, that evidence has been tainted. This is why silence matters in an investigation. It may seem cold, even cruel, but it's designed to catch people who know more than they claim. That said, silence also has consequences. The longer Malehya and Daniel stay quiet, the more people online turn against them. Some accuse them of negligence, others of something worse. In the absence of answers, theories grow like weeds. So, are the RCMP protecting the investigation, or protecting someone? It's the kind of question that tears communities apart. But perhaps it misses the bigger issue. This isn't just about police strategy. It's about the lives of two young children. Children with rights, with dreams, and with voices that have now been stolen by silence. In Canada and around the world, children have the right to safety, to protection, and above all, to be searched for, fiercely and without delay, when they go missing. Their rights don't end when the headlines fade. They begin there. That's why we created True Child Cases, to keep their stories alive, to press when others fall silent, to ask the hard questions, not to accuse, but to uncover the truth. And the truth is, something happened to Lilly and Jack Sullivan, and someone knows what it was. So if the RCMP are asking for silence, we must ask what they're protecting. The children? The case? Or someone closer? In Part 2, we'll dive into the chilling clues Daniel Martell revealed. A blanket, a boot print, and a location the public wasn't supposed to know about. Subscribe to True Child Cases now, so you won't miss what could be the turning point in this investigation. Part 2. The blanket, the boot print, and the silence. The first rule in any missing child case is simple. Every detail matters, especially in the first 24 hours. Where the child was last seen, what they were wearing, what objects are missing. These seemingly small facts can crack a case wide open. So when Daniel Martell, the step-parent before it did. Which brings us to a crucial question. What else hasn't been shared? Because while the public grows impatient and media demands answers, investigators are working behind the scenes methodically. That's what they say, at least. Lead investigator Sandy Matharu from the RCMP insists that everything is being evaluated carefully and deliberately, that all information is meticulously scrutinized. But to the outside world, silence still feels like stalling. And with Daniel's sudden admission about the blanket and boot print, a crack has appeared in that silence, a moment where the curtain was pulled back. Just for a second. It's worth noting that Daniel passed a polygraph test. He also allowed police to search the property early on. According to his own words, he encouraged it. That's not something most guilty people do. But it's also something people do when they know how suspicious they look. He's not the biological father. He moved into the family dynamic relatively recently. He was one of the last people to see the children. And when they vanished, he was there. The blanket complicates things even further. If it was dropped during an innocent walk into the woods, why was it near a pipeline? Why was there only one boot print? Why didn't the scent dogs pick up a continuous trail? Did the trail end because the children stopped walking, or because they were picked up? And now that Daniel has confirmed this clue, without police approval, we're left wondering, what else might be out there? There's also the matter of trust. RCMP likely asked Daniel and Malehya to remain silent for a reason. That reason could have been to avoid leaks, prevent panic, and protect the children, if they were still alive. But when Daniel gave that interview, that trust may have fractured. So what happens now? Will more details be leaked? Will the RCMP change their strategy? Will Daniel speak again? We don't know. But what we do know is this. When a child is missing, information is both a weapon and a shield. The wrong word can collapse a case. The right word can save a life. That's why, even in frustration, we must understand the stakes. Children like Lilly and Jack have the right to be searched for with everything we've got. And that includes holding our judgment long enough for investigators to do their work. Even when the silence is maddening, even when the clues are scarce, even when the only lead we have is a pink blanket and a boot print in the woods. Because for all our theories, all our anger, and all our heartbreak, the most important thing isn't the timeline or the blame. It's bringing them home. And if that means playing the long game, then so be it. At True Child Cases, we believe that truth must be uncovered, not assumed. And that children, no matter how small, deserve the full force of justice, patience, and hope. If you know something, say something. But if you don't, listen closely, because the smallest details might speak the loudest. In Part 3, we'll confront the difficult question. Is the RCMP enforcing a media blackout as a legitimate strategy? Or are they hiding something deeper from the public? Subscribe now to True Child Cases so you don't miss what comes next. Part 3. Media blackout or smart tactic? When two young children vanish, the family member. So, in theory, the RCMP's strategy makes sense. But here's the problem. They're not explaining it. They're not telling the public why certain details have been withheld. They're not providing regular updates. And when they do speak, it's vague. We're continuing to investigate. We're reviewing information. We're following leads. This lack of transparency, even if strategic, creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, theories multiply. Some believe the RCMP is close to an arrest and simply buying time. Others fear they've hit a dead end, and silence is a way to delay public scrutiny. And then there are those who suspect something worse, that the RCMP may have made early missteps they're now trying to contain. One widely discussed possibility is that the children never wandered off at all, that the pink blanket found near a pipeline was staged, that the bootprint was planted, and that RCMP knows this, but doesn't yet have enough to prove who's responsible. In that scenario, media silence isn't just a tactic, it's a firewall. It protects the fragile structure of a case still being built, because once that wall comes down, once the public knows everything, there's no turning back. But is that fair? Is it right to ask grieving parents to stay quiet while the world speculates? Is it ethical to hold back critical information from a community desperate to help? And above all, does this silence serve the children or the system? At True Child Cases, we believe in balance. That law enforcement must protect their investment. We shift focus away from the only thing that matters, bringing Lilly and Jack home. In Part 5, we'll dig deeper into RCMP's investigative playbook, exploring the standard protocols in missing child cases and whether the tactics used in this case align with national and international best practices. Part 5. Inside the RCMP's playbook. If the Royal Canadian Mounted Police are asking parents to stay silent, there must be a reason, a method, a structure. But what exactly is the strategy? In missing child investigations, every second counts. And yet, in the disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, it seems time has stretched on with few public answers. Two young children vanished. A pink blanket was found. A bootprint was discovered. And then, silence. No Amber Alert, no public suspects, no confirmed sightings, and minimal communication from investigators. So how does this align with RCMP's investigative playbook? To understand that, we have to break down how Canadian authorities approach missing child cases, and how they decide when to go public, when to hold back, and when to go silent altogether. Let's start with the basics. When a child is reported missing, the RCMP launches what's known as a tiered response model. First, they assess the risk level. Is the child in immediate danger? Are there signs of foul play? How old are they? Do they have medical needs or vulnerabilities like autism, as Lilly and Jack reportedly do? If the risk is deemed high, which it clearly was, a major crime unit is typically assigned. In this case, the Northeast Nova RCMP Major Crime Unit, led by investigator Sandy Matharu, took over quickly. From there, a combination of ground search, forensic analysis, digital tracking, and family interviews is deployed. One of the most important, but least understood, tools in their arsenal is information control. RCMP policy encourages limiting public disclosures in the early stages of an investigation for several reasons. To protect the integrity of witness statements, to prevent suspects from learning investigative details, to preserve sensitive evidence, to reduce false leads based on misinformation. In theory, this makes sense. Imagine a suspect watching the news, hearing that the pink blanket was found near a pipeline, and then adjusting their story to avoid exposure. Or imagine someone falsely claiming they saw the children, but can't describe that blanket, immediately discrediting them. But here's the flip side. Too much silence breeds distrust. Internationally, child protection agencies emphasize a victim-centered approach. one that keeps the public informed while still protecting operational details. For example, the U.S. Department of Justice recommends regular press briefings in high-profile child abduction cases. Interpol encourages coordinated transparency, including the use of public alerts and community updates to build engagement. So why isn't that happening here? Some analysts argue that Canadian law enforcement tends to be more conservative, less media-driven, more procedural. That may work in some situations. But in a digital age where communities expect real-time answers, this model may be falling behind, especially when children are involved. Rescued, barely, and now speaks to groups across Canada about the dangers of silence. You think the silence protects the investigation, she says, but sometimes it protects the perpetrator. Survivor voices are critical. They remind us that behind every headline is a human life, that behind every missing poster is someone's baby, someone's best friend, someone who once laughed, played, cried. These voices also raise crucial questions. Are we doing enough to train police to handle child cases with trauma-informed methods? Are we creating space for families to grieve publicly without being vilified? Are we listening to the people who've been through this before? Because in a case like Lilly and Jack's, where official updates are rare and the silence feels endless, survivor voices fill the moral void. They bring empathy where procedures can't. They ask questions the public is afraid to, and they keep the names of the missing alive. At True Child Cases, we believe in those voices. We believe that survivors have more to teach us than any file or forensic lab, that their pain carries weight and their warnings carry truth. Lilly and Jack may not be here to speak, but others are, and if we don't listen, we risk repeating the same mistakes again and again. In Part 7, we'll examine a disturbing pattern. When police delay, evidence disappears. Is the silence in this case costing us critical time and possibly justice? Part 7, the case that could break. Every criminal case has a moment, a tipping point, when everything either comes together or collapses. For the disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, that moment may be closer than we think. Nearly 2 months have passed since the siblings vanished from their Nova Scotia trailer home on the morning of May 2nd. Since then, we've seen a tightly controlled investigation, near total media silence from their mother and stepfather, and very few official updates. But silence doesn't just stall momentum, it corrodes trust, and trust is the oxygen every investigation needs. At first, the public believed the RCMP had good reason for keeping things quiet. After all, many believed this was a tactical move, a way to catch whoever might be responsible off guard. But now, that theory is wearing thin. The longer the RCMP stays silent, the louder the questions become. And with each passing day, we risk something devastating. That this case, once urgent and alive, could slowly be dying under the weight of its own secrecy. Because justice has a shelf life, and time kills evidence. Let's be blunt. If Lily's pink blanket was found on day 1, why did it take weeks for the public to hear about it? If Daniel Martell passed a polygraph and urged police to search his home, why hasn't that been officially confirmed? If 500 tips have been submitted, where are the leads, the suspects, the follow-ups? Instead, all we've gotten is a vague promise that the investigation is active and ongoing. But what does that mean to a frightened community? To a grieving grandmother? To a public desperate for answers? Worse yet, what message does that send to the person who may have taken those children? That no one is looking anymore? That the story is old news? That they got away with it? In other missing children cases, we've seen what silence can cost. In 2009, in British Columbia, an 11-year-old girl went missing while walking home. The media was kept at arm's length. Journalists, every viewer. This case is not cold yet, but it could be. Lilly and Jack still deserve every ounce of energy we have. They are not a headline. They are not a theory. They are real children, and they are still missing. We must keep asking questions. We must keep searching for the truth. We must keep this case alive. before it breaks for good. In Part 8, we'll turn our attention to the one person who's stayed completely silent since day one, their mother, Malehya Brooks Murray. Was she following police advice? Or is there more to her silence than we've been told? Part 8, the mother who said nothing. In nearly every missing child case, the voice of the mother becomes the heartbeat of the search. She cries, she pleads, she begs the world to help. We see her face on television. We hear her desperation in every word. And in those moments, the public connects. They feel. They act. But in the disappearance of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, their mother, Malehya Brooks Murray, has remained almost completely silent. And that silence has become deafening. From the very beginning, police advised her not to speak to the media. That much we know. Her partner, Daniel Martell, later confirmed it during his CBC interview. He too was told not to talk, yet eventually, he did. He sat down. He answered tough questions. He revealed new information about the pink blanket and the bootprint, and in doing so, he opened himself up to both criticism and sympathy. But Malehya? She hasn't spoken publicly since her initial 911 call. No interview, no press conference, no camera time. No tears seen by the world. Of course, she could be grieving in private. She could be following RCMP instructions to the letter. Haven't been told. What we do know is this. Before the children disappeared, Malehya had sought sole custody. She had distanced herself from their biological father, Cody Sullivan. And after moving in with Daniel Martell, she stopped allowing the paternal grandmother, Belinda Gray, to see the children regularly. There was a pattern of isolation, a closing off of outside voices. When asked about the relationship, Gray said she wasn't happy, and later added, "My heart tells me these babies are gone." Those are powerful words, but are they rooted in truth or pain? The most unsettling thing about Malehya's silence is that it creates a vacuum, and in that vacuum, everyone else's version of events begins to dominate. Daniel's account, the grandmother's account, the police's account, but not hers. And that absence creates its own narrative, that she's hiding something. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But here's what we do know. When mothers speak, people listen. And when they don't, people speculate. Which leads us to a critical crossroads in this case. If Malehya is still under instruction from police not to speak, the RCMP should make that clear. They should publicly defend her silence and reaffirm that she is not a suspect, if that's true. Because right now, the world is filling in the blanks. And if she is no longer restricted, then her silence becomes her own. And that opens the door to dangerous territory, not just for her, but for the integrity of the entire investigation. Because if the public loses faith in the parents, they also begin to lose faith in the process. And when that happens, leads dry up. Tips vanish, justice slips further away. At True Child Cases, we believe that every voice matters, especially the ones we haven't heard. We believe in giving people the benefit of the doubt, but not immunity from questions. And we believe that mothers deserve support, but also accountability if needed. Lilly and Jack are still missing. And until they're found, every person connected to their lives must be willing to be seen, to be questioned, to be transparent. Because these children no longer have a voice, and silence from anyone will never bring in controlled evidence, and that could compromise the entire direction of the case. There's another unsettling angle. If the blanket was planted, could it have been someone close to the children? Someone with access to their belongings? Someone who knew what would trigger public sympathy? Someone who wanted to divert attention away from the home? And here's what no one wants to say out loud. Sometimes clues are left not to help, but to hide. At this point in the case, the pink blanket has become more than fabric. It's a symbol of confusion, of contradiction, of a case slipping out of the public's grip. And yet, the blanket may still hold answers. Has it been tested for DNA, for soil trace, for animal hair? Was it found dry, folded, torn? We don't know. because the RCMP won't tell us, which means we're left where we started, guessing. But in guessing, we risk missing the larger truth, that a single blanket, in the wrong hands, can manipulate public emotion. It can distract from real evidence. It can stall an investigation. And it can even make us look the other way, when we should be looking closer. At True Child cases, we believe in following the evidence, not the illusion. We believe every clue should be examined with skepticism, logic, and care. And we believe children like Lilly and Jack deserve better than silence, symbols, and staged answers. Because one pink blanket doesn't tell a whole story. It just whispers that one exists. In Part 10, we'll bring everything together: the silence, the blanket, the family dynamics, and ask the final, terrifying question: is someone getting away with this? Part 10, the final silence. 2 children are missing. Their names are Lilly and Jack. And it's not just law enforcement. The mother, Malehya Brooks Murray, remains quiet. She's never gone on camera,